Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Spill the Tea with Whoa Dakota. Well, it's been a weird year, to say the least, and I know that there's a lot that comes with that. I personally have been dealing with some more intense anxiety than usual. It's just one example. I just want to say I hope that everyone is doing their best to stay sane and healthy, and taking in every moment of joy possible and hugging the people that you love. I really do think we're going to be okay. It feels really scary sometimes, but I am hopeful. I'm hopeful for us. And today's episode, I've got my dear friend Cybelle Elena, who is a fashion designer in Nashville. She's a multi-talented artist, but fashion is sort of her primary thing. She's designed garments that have walked the red carpet of the Grammys because she's that dope. So let's get some tea spilled with Cybelle Elena. This is Cybelle Elena.
Hi.
Cybelle, welcome to Spill the Tea with Whoa Dakota.
Thank you for having me.
So the thing about Cybelle is she is a multi-talented artist. She's a seamstress.
Mm-hmm.
She makes couture custom costuming for musicians, as well as just great clothes in general. Did I already say you're a musician?
I don't know. I don't know. I think you just did seamstress.
Seamstress, costumes, musician, graphic designer, painter?
Yeah. I mean, I am an artist, and I work in a lot of mediums, but it's all the same. I feel like, I hope anyway, it's all the same art, but just in different mediums.
I think that's the case. It feels like it comes from one source, for sure. She's designed clothes for me for the stage, Molly Tuttle. You had one of my pieces in the, what was that cool thing?
Oh, the Queen's exhibit. That was super cool. It was an exhibit during Nashville Design Week a couple of years ago of stagewear made by Nashville couturiers, Nashville seamstresses. And so I had a couple of pieces in there, and a number of other incredibly talented designers had pieces in there. So it was really cool. Your stagewear was in the same exhibition as Dolly Parton's stagewear.
Yep.
You know.
If you're a regular attendee, you know about my Dolly Parton old cold tater story. Did I tell you about this story?
No, what is that?
I waited on her at the restaurant where I work.
Oh my goodness.
And of course she was amazing. She was really kind, like her laugh, everything. And for an appetizer, she ordered a basket of fries. And so I went back, checked on them. She drank Bombay Sapphire martinis. She had 2.
Okay.
So I'm delivering her second drink, and she says, "Oh, honey, you can take those. Don't nobody like an old cold tater." I'm talking about the fries.
And she's absolutely right.
Don't nobody.
Yeah.
Don't
nobody.
like it. Don't nobody. She's amazing. From your perspective, how do you feel? Basically, what called you to fashion in the first place? And what is it that drives you to, this bitch is one of the hardest working people that I personally know. So what drives you to be that dedicated?
Oh, there's so many different answers to this question. So first of all, I would say, perhaps things all came at once, but I would say that music probably was my first love. And part of the reason why I think part of the reason why, although I've pursued music, most of my adult life, I have not made it a primary focus is a couple of reasons. One, and probably first and foremost, both my parents are musicians, and I don't know that this was malicious or intentional, but I think that when I was a teenager, they were a little bit apathetic to what I was doing, and that.
Do you think that was because they were so zero focused on their thing? Is that
You know, I don't know. They might just, you know, they might just be the type of people that just are that way. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of different things I think that breed artists, and I mean, there's so many different paths, but one of them is rebellion, and another is support. And I feel like apathy doesn't really allow for either one of those things. And so a lot of just like kind of pain and fear around that. But the refuge that I find in my work is what has sort of filled that void.
I'm doing this.
Okay.
I'm talking under.
So in art and whether that's like graphic design or painting or drawing or sculpture, or in fashion, which is just an extension of that, really. It's a lot about like, you know, just it's reliable. It's a reliable thing, and I think people feel this way also about music. I think people feel this way about almost anything, but like, you know, my close friends know about me that I am a workaholic, you know, and it is simultaneously a point of pride and something I'm a little bit maybe embarrassed about. Like, I don't know how those two things can coexist, but they do. And so a friend of mine was like, had sort of exited their corporate job. This was about a year ago. Exited their corporate job and was going into the creative arts, and asked me what motivates me, like what drives you. Like, you know, she was like, you know, how do you find the motivation to consistently, we're like working on, you know, 8 projects at once and all this stuff. And I had to kind of think about it for a second, and then I was a little bit scared to say this out loud because I felt like it was could be potentially a little cliche, and because it was really vulnerable. But I realized that like I can rely on my art all the time. It will always sort of be there for me and will always create joy regardless of whether or not I'm being paid for it. And so it kind of, I feel like art parented me and and loved me and supported me and drove me to, you know, everything that I do now. And so that's the larger answer. The shorter answer about the fashion is that when I was in high school, I was 100 pounds and 5 foot tall. So nothing fit me. So I had to learn how to sew to make clothes fit me. I also grew up like in relative, like, you know, kind of poor. And so I didn't really like shopping for school clothes and stuff wasn't really a thing. A lot of thrifting and like free box and hand-me-down and that kind of stuff. So I just, started making clothes then. And it's taken a lot of different forms over the years. I mean, my first company was called Cybelle, and that was like all upcycled stuff, and it was kind of a smaller, that was when I was living in LA, and did like lots of consignment and that kind of thing. And then that kind of evolved into some costuming for like burlesque dancers and other performers. I had a bridal company called Pridal. That was a bridal charity. That was before DOMA was repealed, and it was in support of marriage equality. So, you know, it's taken many forms. I think that its current form, which is like a lot of couture stuff, a lot of custom stage wear stuff, and then some like ready to wear things, feels right now anyway. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't feel boxed in, and I get an opportunity to, you know, I just like really love what I do. It's still hard, but, you know, I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. So
how, I guess I'm curious how creating, you know, fashion and couture and costuming for other people, like you get to do it, and you very much have like your unique style and the way that you approach even couture from, you know, this country artist all the way to like some indie pop person in Nashville.
Indie pop star.
Indie pop star. So you definitely have your stamp on it. I guess my curiosity would be, having done the music process, which as musicians, many times, you know, we're recording this material and it costs us money in the long run. How does that compare for you? I mean, I can't imagine having a situation where I was able to say, oh, this art will cost you this much money.
Well, that process is all, industry secret is that everybody works on a sliding scale, and sometimes that's an economic sliding scale, and sometimes that's an asshole sliding scale. And that's
asshole.
There's an asshole tax for sure.
If you suck and you ask for something.
Yeah, if you're not appreciative of my time. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day because I was like frustrated at one of these people that I just felt was like a little bit entitled, and I was like, dude, if you're nice to me and you support my business and you're like, you value my time, I probably will make you like extremely affordable couture fashion stuff. But if you're shitty to me, I like don't even want to hem your jeans. Like I just, you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna charge you $60 to hem those jeans. Like, so that's how you kind of determine that. But my process is also like, I choose to, as often as I can, work with artists who I like their work, who I relate to their work. Sure. And the reason is that it's just easier. It's just easier to work with people who you like what they do, you know? Because part of my design process for musicians, that's like, I would say in my process, the most important part is that I design to their music. So
I love that.
Like, sometimes that means doing sometimes it's preliminary research, like listening to their music and then designing that way. And sometimes it's just simply listening to their music while I'm constructing the garment. I think it's really important. It's hard to, I just feel like I can interpret somebody's core self better that way than by talking to them or looking at their Instagram or all of their whatever, because sometimes they might have some stupid publicist who like has a dumb idea and like that's not their vibe, but their vibe and their music that's them, right. So
ooh, okay, I got a juicy one. So I hear you talk about art and it feels very spiritual to me. Hearing you talk about it, I'm like, she keeps saying she's not spiritual, but the way she's talking about how art has parented her, etc. And all of the deep dives I've done lately in my spirituality, everything from Eckhart Tolle to the Artist's Way to Deepak Chopra, like, sister's been having to do a lot of work because I'm freaking out a little bit with this pandemic and everything else.
We all are.
I guess my question is the magic that comes from that space for you. Everything have you ever done the Artist's Way, Julia Cameron?
Mm-mm.
So it is faith-based in that it is not like religion, but it's like
sure.
You do it with the assumption that something is guiding you, and you call that art. Maybe you call that God. Maybe you call that your own whatever. How do you account for the magic that is that creative space for you?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about this really early on during stay-at-home mandates in Nashville because, and this is not to police anybody and how they spend their time, and absolutely no judgment, and we all have to process this in our own way, and you should, and you're allowed to. But I felt like a lot of people were like, let's Zoom happy hour, and they were having a hard time sort of figuring out what to do with their time. And I went the complete opposite. I can't really explain why, but I really isolated myself even more so than really I needed to, and worked for about 16 hours a day every single day on things that at that time early on I had a lot of my clients' tours were canceled.
We're good there.
And so essentially, like, because their tours were canceled, my work was additionally canceled.
You had a costume for me that's postponed.
Yeah, postponed sort of indefinitely. And the last thing I want to do during this time period is, like, hunt people down to pay their invoice. You know what I mean? And so it was just, it all came to a head of, like, oh, fuck, you just had 4 months worth of rent postponed indefinitely, and what are you going to do? And what I did was just create a spring collection really in, like, a week.
The matching mask and overalls.
Yeah. And
by the way, if you need a mask, CybelleElena.com, babies.
Yeah. Thank you. And so I think similarly to perhaps my childhood, although I don't know that I had recognized that at the time, it was like a refuge, it was how I coped. And I had that conversation with family members of mine, even to say, like, Gillian Welch has this song, Everything is Free Now. Do you know it?
No.
It's talking about, the song is basically about, or it seems like it's about, when musicians are asked to more and more so play for less and less money, or sell their songs for less and less money, or stream their music for pennies on the dollar instead of selling albums. And one of the lines in the song is that we're going to do it anyway, even if it's free.
Yeah,
and that was kind of my, like, come to Jesus moment, was that, like, first or second week in, which, I mean, of course I already knew that, but, like, that was a full, like, there's no going back.
Cybelle! That is what I have been thinking about, too.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
At this place of, like, utter uncertainty, the one thing that we know is that, like, it occurred to me in a similar way. Like, I've been toying over, what should I do? Should I go back to school and become a psychologist and da-da-da-da? Mm-hmm. And one day I'm just like, like, you're going to be doing this when you're 80 years old, creaking around shuffling around your living room. You're going to be writing songs and recording them. Mm-hmm. And it really, at that point, doesn't fucking matter if you make money.
Right.
And so...
Not that I... Listen. I definitely want to make money.
We want to make that money. Subscribe! But it is a really freeing fucking realization.
Yeah, because it's sort of like, okay, well, this is... And I also think, like, I don't think I can go back to any other thing ever. I mean, I'm not to say that I'm certainly not above other types of work or whatever, should that happen. But I just, like, I just have to do what I do. I have to. I actually think I actually have to. Yeah.
It is. It's like, it's elemental. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I, in talking to other friends who are musicians or artists, I'm lucky. I have really supportive parents. They are like, oh no, she's famous. Like, I'm like, I have 2,000 Instagram followers, but it's adorable. Yeah. But so, they're blindly supportive. Mm-hmm. I have other friends whose parents do not understand it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because there's a certain part of this world that sometimes feels like you took, like, the red pill in the Matrix. Do you know what I'm saying? Or whatever color pill. It feels like when you say yes to it, an entirely different world opens up to you. Mm-hmm. One that is very complicated. One that provides, like, in many ways, I was prepared for the uncertainty and the lack of security because I never had it to begin with.
Right. And I think that's an important point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm very supported, so, like, no tea, no shade. But I think that it's interesting, and I love how you describe this sort of, like, elemental, primitive call to what you do, and I love how it feels really you're parenting yourself, right? Like, this is how we as a species, if we are born by the great creator, whatever that looks like, surely we would be given
certain
Some
talents
tools
to create.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think every human being, regardless of whether or not they call themselves an artist, has to create in order to thrive.
Sure.
It's therapy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to have that be all you have left so that you can really see how elemental it is for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And also, just to clarify, I mean, I love my parents. But I think, I think that different creatives also have different love languages. And it's something that I'm learning a lot just because, I mean, I think actually like 99% of the people that I come in contact with on a daily basis are artists or musicians. I have very few friends that work in more conventional fields. And so I'm learning about also sort of the love languages within creatives and how some of us nurture, myself anyway, for sure, nurture through like the creation of their art, which I feel like sometimes can be not always like sometimes it's not always received in the way that you're intending. Sometimes it's like, especially because in order to make money, we have to like shove the art down people's faces. So, but that doesn't mean that there isn't like care and compassion. It's just it's a complex thing. It's a really complex thing.
That's interesting because your parents were both artists. So this is something else I want to talk about because no one in my family really pursued art as a career. So very conventional sort of upbringing. I have the dual dream of being an artist professionally and also having children one day. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to hear from you. Did you feel like there were moments where your parents were no, I don't know your parents, like no judgment on them, but as I'm thinking more from how I imagine my future, did you ever feel like they were so hell-bent on pursuing their art that they sometimes didn't nurture you in the way you needed to be nurtured as a child? Because I sometimes get concerned that I won't have the energy to both nurture my career as an artist and also really nurture a child in the way they need to be nurtured, because that's its own full-time job, right?
What I would say, being the furthest thing from an expert and just using the anecdotal evidence of my own life, not with absolutely no experience in mental health or anything of that nature, what I would say is that there's a lot of growth in your path as an artist, right? I know that I've experienced that. I know that I have overcome crippling self-doubt and still have more work to do. I feel like the most important component of my childhood that I think caused the most pain was the lack of support in my own creative endeavors, and that's changed as I've gotten older and as my parents have gotten older and as things have changed. You know what I mean? They're wonderful people, but that was sort of that was the hardest part for me, and I think part of it was because perhaps their parents were not supportive of their creative.
So they didn't have a model that.
So I think that I would like to have children, and like even maybe soon.
Let's do
it.
I'm just saying. CybelleElena.com.
I want to have a family and I want to have children. I also don't think that is not going to change my lifestyle of being, really invested in my art. And I think those things can come together. But the most important thing for me is that I want to break that cycle. Mm-hmm. Is I want to come to a place in my heart that when my own child is creative, or if they are, that I do not like project any of my like jaded bullshit on them, that I don't project any of my like pain, that there's no jealousy, that there's no competition, that there's no nothing, that I can just wholeheartedly, really genuinely want them to be the most successful that they can be, even if that's more successful than me, even if they're more talented than I am, whatever thing it is. Oh, your dad's texting. Synchronicity.
Yeah. What is it? Something. A cemetery in Wyoming.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of the most important thing that I really am striving for currently and hope to continue in self-growth is like making sure that I'm not going to feel that my whatever failures I experience as an artist throughout my career, that you know, because I don't want to be the parent that's like, well, you gotta pay your dues. It's like, fuck your dues. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to be the parent that's like, well, I was like, you know, I had to do all back in my day. It was way harder, and it's like, so what?
Fuck you.
Yeah.
This whole pandemic has really sort of had to have us consider how we need to unplug from some of the ideologies that capitalism has ingrained within us. Mm-hmm. And dude, there's a lot of things about being a capitalist in America that works for people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My dad is conservative capitalist as they come, and he pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Not to knock it, but it's interesting how you sort of process those things when you pursue creative endeavors. Mm-hmm. I also think it's interesting. No parent is perfect ever.
Of course.
You're gonna do something that they're gonna have to unpack later. That is like the work of their life, especially if they're creative. Delicious. Lavender chamomile. But I wonder if maybe our generation is unique in that, as humanity, we continue to be more conscious and aware as we go. And maybe it's not always linear. Mm-hmm. I think you'll see that in the politics of this country. But I think that we're destined to awaken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. Maybe
I don't know,
we'll
man.
Just be
I
screwed.
don't think we have any fucking choice at this point.
We don't have a choice. We either are going to or we're going to blow.
What is the current date? The current date is like is August 12th, 2020? Is it 12th today? Okay, so buckle up. It's going to be a weird couple months and, you know, perhaps beyond.
A weird time. Oh, it's only
buckle up.
What was I saying there? Where was I going with that?
Oh, just that, you know, I think we're
we're
learning more about how to be humane, basically, to each other.
How to be human. I think our parents' generation did a much better job of unpacking what their parents did to them. Mm-hmm. Our generation is perhaps taking that the next step further. Mm-hmm. How can I unpack what impact, positive or negative, or middle of the road, my parents and the way that they approached this, how that affected me, and how can I further move the buck so that I'm not doing, and you're always going to screw it up. There's going to be something that you do.
Yeah, of course. And you've got to forgive yourself for it as well. But I think, again, this isn't linear, but I do feel I'm really proud of people in my community who embrace, self-growth. Mm-hmm. The people who can be called out and sort of examine themselves and say, okay, well, how am I participating in, the patriarchy? How am I participating in systemic racism? How am I participating in whatever, thing that is affecting people around? And so I hope that will extend into parenthood for most of us, of like being self-aware, or trying to be anyway, forgiving yourself for mistakes, and instead of coming at them with a defensive perspective, to really trying to just be the best that we can be all the time,
Yeah. But also, the other side of that is allowing ourselves grace, mm-hmm. which you said a bit about forgiving yourself. You mirrored some of the stuff that I do, which is when you don't always show up at that exact right time and what you had planned for your day. Right. You really beat yourself up about that. You're like, you used the words, I get really angry with myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. If I
So then not only have you not shown up to what you had planned on,
But
now
I'm
we're
angry.
beating ourselves up,
Yeah.
and we're angry.
It's definitely something I'm trying to work through, which is the part, earlier when we talked about the workaholism, like it is a point of pride for me. It's also something that I understand that I need to address and I need to sort of like break through a little bit because, I'll sleep in an extra hour or whatever thing, and I'm furious at myself for not being able to do things that aren't really, like, it's not necessary. Like, you don't have to work 14 hours every single day.
No, you don't, Cybelle. You certainly don't, Cybelle.
But if I have a lot of things on my but I want to do all that. Like, I want to say yes, and I want to do all of the things, and I want to be and it's not about the money, and it's maybe a little bit about the glory, but not that much. It's mostly about just like, I'm just excited for people in their project, and I want to like do that, you know what I mean? But yeah, I totally beat myself up if I'm not able to accomplish and achieve things that are like, sometimes completely unrealistic and totally insurmountable. So it's something I am working on and have to continue to work on because I will, if I sleep in or if I like drink a little too much and then I'm hungover the next day and I'm kind of slow,
It's a whole thing.
I hate it. I'm so mad at myself about it.
So as the resident Taurus, and Tauruses are all about comfort, creature comforts, I would like to give you a gift.
Okay.
Your gift is, it is a part of your job as an artist to take care of yourself.
Right.
And to give yourself space, time. So during all of this, I have structured my day more so than I was able to in the past with touring and working in a restaurant. But I've structured it such that my work day includes meditation, going for a walk, having a healthy lunch and breakfast. Like all of those things. We live in a culture that is so fast paced. I will witness myself eating so fast because I'm so ready to go to the next thing that I'm like, you're going to choke and die. And then you're never going to record that record.
Yeah.
So slow the fuck down. So that is what I would like to give you, is to like cut yourself some slack, because it is something I feel like you have to bring consciousness to the fact that like your mental health and your being okayness as a creative person, which we all are creative people, no matter what you do, that is a part of the job. Sure. And I don't think we live in a culture where that gift has been given to us. I think about, like, there was a period of time where I was working a 9 to 5. Not only do I work for these 8 hours, it takes me, if I'm bringing my own lunch and have a healthy salad, wake up, by the time I wake up, take a shower, make my food, sit in an hour traffic on the way to work, and I'll do all of that on the return home, I have been working for,
10 hours or whatever.
10, 12 hours. And it's, those things aren't included. In many ways, like, I hope this sort of pandemic lockdown creates a space where all these people aren't having to sit in this hour-long traffic, wake up, brush their teeth, put on their suit. I mean, brush your teeth still. Yeah. But, like, put on your suit and go to your desk job. Do it from home.
Yeah.
Do it from home.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break. I don't know. And I know you know that about yourself. I know you know that it's required that you do maintain a level of self-care. But I just wanted to give you that gift.
No,
because
you're
sometimes I
absolutely
need
right.
permission.
Yeah.
Like, I'll text Sam, my manager, and be like, Sam, will you just tell me that it's okay that I just like chill for the evening? And she's like, yeah, dude, you're good. Here's your permission slip. So sometimes. So now I want to do the sort of the end.
Okay.
Which is the Spill the Tea official segment. It's rapid fire round.
Okay.
That's what you say.
So quick. Okay, got it. Ready.
Quick, think about it. But they're deep questions, so
I'll do my best.
Take your
I'll
time.
keep. I know I'm long-winded.
No, you're great. Trust me. I'm long-winded. Okay, Cybelle. What is your longest standing negative emotional pattern?
Fear of failure.
Ooh, yeah. What is failure, Cybelle?
I don't think I actually know. I think that the fear of failure thing is like not even, there's no real like weight behind that. It's just a that's just what it is. Yeah.
I don't think it's real failure.
Yeah.
I think the only real failure is not trying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. That coming from someone who's privileged and who has had supportive parents her whole life. So, but I think about that.
I mean, life is a process, so failure is just one part of the process, and then like that leads to then success. So, you know,
You have to have it.
You have to have it. It's required. It's necessary. But there is a sort of unexplainable fear of failure that, yes, lives in my heart sometimes. It's really...
When I think about failure on the long term, what I go to is an image of me in my 80s, alone and penniless, living on the street.
That's not what it's going to be like.
That's what failure is to me.
Oh
God. I sort of usurped that question. Okay. Cybelle, what is a dream you have for yourself that you've ever felt afraid to admit?
Interesting. This is a theme in your and I's conversations. This is a theme in this podcast webisode. It was not until maybe the last year that I felt like I could wholeheartedly say with confidence, I would like to reproduce. I would like to have children. Before that, I was in denial and or ashamed because I am like very independent and I'm really, you know, traditionalism is not a big part of my life. But yeah, so that I would say was a dream that I was unwilling to really like solidly admit, or I'd be kind of flippant about it. I'd be like, I don't know, maybe. But now I'm like, nope, I want that. That's what I want to do.
I love that. You have to be able to say you want it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that as well.
Yeah.
Not only being an artist, but being a feminist, you feel like, can I do this without appearing like I don't know.
Yeah.
I need someone else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the biggest lie you've ever bought into about having a career as an artist?
Luck. And I want to start this by saying I have been extremely fortunate and very lucky in my life and career. But although there are anomalies, usually what it takes to have any success as an artist is the cliche thing that we hear, which is you have to fucking work your fucking ass off. Your talent, no matter how amazing you are, is not going to get you there. You have to work. You have to work really hard. And so I think that is the lie that I was like, well, I'm talented enough, or I'm good enough, or I'm going to get lucky and
someone
whatever.
should just find me.
Yep, exactly. And that's not how it works. You have to work really hard.
You have to work hard so other people want to work hard for you and with you. And, what is your favorite method of self-care? Not your strong suit.
Ooh, I'm not very good at self-care. Outdoor exercise, and it's something that I don't do enough of, and I forget. And then I go outside, like if I go on a nice hike, or I love kayaking, and once I'm there and doing it, I'm like, I just feel like, again, like I feel like a Disney princess. I'm like, oh my goodness, right, okay, got it.
Forgot about this.
Right, I love this. I'm so happy. What's going on, you guys? What is
I know, look at a tree. Just look at a tree.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast with Tracy Ellis Ross. She's like, wash your face, look at a tree,
right.
You're going to be fine.
Right.
Okay, last one. Cybelle Elena, CybelleElena.com. Describe a time when you almost gave up.
So, which it's not too late for me to do this now, but I have had a pattern throughout most of my life of letting things get really about to be awesome and then flipping out and being like, you know what, I think I'm gonna move.
Bye.
Or like completely change career paths or like something like, I mean, I've always been an artist. I've been an artist my entire adult life and before as well. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely given up, you know, a lot of different versions of the thing, you know, and I had to this time around which has worked, but tell myself like, okay, don't drop the ball. That's your thing. That's your like go-to thing is right when you're just about to be successful, you drop the ball.
Ooh, look at Cybelle breaking patterns left and right.
So I had to really, but a more fun example is this year I designed a dress for a Grammy nominee to wear on the red carpet. And this client of mine who's absolutely wonderful and I love, she had gotten sick and her tours got pushed, all this different stuff happened. So we ended up finally locking down the design for the dress less than 10 days before the ceremony.
The Grammys.
Yeah. And finally we locked it down, and this was an opportunity for me that I was not going to let go of. I was really, I mean, it's been a dream for a long time to design for a Grammy nominee, and I was really excited to do it. And so we finally locked down the design, and it was also the week that my mother was coming to visit me, which was just already people visiting in town. And again, my mother is like an artist, and she's a very vibrant personality, and she loves to party. And
Mom coming in town, it's always a lot.
So I was like, okay, I have a week to make a dress for the Grammys. And if anybody's familiar with my work, they know that like the majority of my work is hand drawn and hand cut applique that is then hand stitched, or often hand stitched onto the garment. So, I mean, I was like cutting hundreds of flower petals and leaves and little birds and all of these like different little things and trying to stitch them onto this dress as my mother was visiting in town, and I was trying to host and do all of this stuff. And I was it was just one of those moments where I was like, you know, I could just say fuck it and not even do this. I could just give up and not even do this dress.
But you didn't.
But I didn't. But I almost did.
And your garment walked that red carpet, didn't it?
It sure did.
Good. I'm glad you didn't give up.
Thank you.